I just want to refer to something, maybe you could provide clarification on it. On page 5 of your statement, the last paragraph, you say, and I just quote, because the Good Friday Agreement strikes the fine balance between the aspirations for unity and union through a complex matrix of compromises. Simple and unilateral solutions will not work unless we get the agreement of both sections of the community. So I suppose, from my point of view, the principle of consent was built into the Good Friday Agreement, and it allows for a democratic pathway to Irish unity. And those advocating for and voting for unity in a future referendum would hope that they get as large a vote in its favour as possible. However, I think the suggestion that unless we get the agreement of both communities will not work, because it's offering a veto to unionism. And I felt the Good Friday Agreement was about removing the vetoes offered to one section of the community. So maybe you just explain, what you mean by that.
There is, of course, the legal position. You're quite right, Deputy. That's the legal position, and that sovereignty would transfer, would change from London to Dublin, if that so be the wish of the Irish people across the island on a future date. I suppose what we really have to accept in terms of the work that we're trying to do with particularly people within the unionist community, is this sense of what the future would look like and how we would accommodate their particular concerns and their own aspirations around their identity and so on. In a sense, the Good Friday Agreement accepted that there was a majority in Northern Ireland who wished for the continuance of the Union in 1998. That could change in the future. But of course it won't change the contested nature of the space that is Northern Ireland. And so whatever new shape might emerge, it really is, I suppose, from the work that we're doing with them, there's quite a degree of concern that there would be a full and wholesome conversation around how broad you would make that sense of the island in the future, and address their concerns around the identity and so on that they would espouse. And when you consider the agreement, Republicans accept it and Nationalists accept it, that Northern Ireland would, for the foreseeable future, remain within the United Kingdom. The British government, for their part, equally contracted that they would, as it were, guarantee the equality of Nationalists and Republicans and so on inside Northern Ireland, and never again allow a return to the situation which had existed in the first 50 years of the state of Northern Ireland. And so I think it's in that context that we're being asked, what would a new shape of a new Ireland look like in that context, and how would you get agreement around those very complex and competing allegiances that are going to be manifest beyond the date of a referendum or a result, whatever that might be.
I think that's why we need to prepare and have the conversations. And I think, as many, we'd often say at this committee, many on the ground in civic society are having those conversations already, and we just maybe need to progress that at a higher level and a political level, that we prepare and look for what kind of an Ireland, a new Ireland, that will, treat everybody equally, will look like. And I think the more we talk about it, the more we prepare for that, the more people will persuade that that's the best option.
I hear what you say. I suppose there is and has been for some time now an increasing sense of fear and trepidation of the unknown, I suppose, from the unionist community perspective as they would express it to us. So I think that's, as I'm expressing earlier, it is about having that conversation in a way which I suppose we need to go into that conversation being willing to have our minds changed as well about what it would be that they might require and request of what a future island might look like.